In the intricate web of human relationships, we often find ourselves navigating between the visible and the hidden, between what is said and what is unsaid. Friendships, connections, and even casual acquaintances can sometimes be clouded with ambiguity, leaving us wondering about the true nature of the bond we share with others. While some people are straightforward, expressing both their affection and their discontent openly, others may mask their true feelings behind layers of politeness, fake smiles, or shallow compliments. The human tendency to avoid confrontation can lead to a situation where someone dislikes you but hides it. In such cases, the signs may not be immediately obvious, but they are often present if you know what to look for. We've all been in situations where the behavior of those around us raises questions. Maybe it's a colleague who seems overly critical in their jokes, a friend whose compliments leave a stain, or a group of people who subtly exclude you from plans without a clear reason. These experiences, though often painful, are important moments of clarity, providing us with insights into the nature of our relationships. Recognizing the signs that someone harbors negative feelings toward you but doesn't express them outright is crucial. It's not about being paranoid, it's about being aware, about knowing when to invest in a relationship and when to step back. This journey of understanding hidden emotions starts with self-awareness and extends to being perceptive of the subtle cues people give off. At the end of the day, it's not just about knowing who genuinely cares for you. It's about valuing yourself enough to distance yourself from those who don't. It's time we peel back the layers and explore the signs that reveal more than words ever could. Signs that tell us when someone dislikes us but is hiding it. What follows is a closer look at these signs, not to invoke distrust, but to empower you to surround yourself with authentic, supportive people who truly value your presence in their lives. The first sign that someone may harbor negative feelings towards you while trying to mask it is their use of humor. On the surface, humor can be light-hearted and playful, a way to bond and connect. But there are instances when humor crosses a line, becoming a veiled attempt to criticize or demean. We've all encountered people who frequently joke about our flaws, passing it off as harmless fun. They might make remarks about your appearance, habits, or quirks, often with a smile that suggests innocence. Yet, beneath that facade lies something far less friendly. It becomes clear over time that their jokes always seem to focus on your weaknesses rather than your strengths. This behavior is more than just insensitive humor. It can be a subtle form of dominance, a way for the other person to assert their superiority while eroding your confidence. When someone consistently points out your flaws under the guise of humor, it's a way of keeping you in a subordinate position. The dangerous part about this behavior is that it can take a long time to recognize. Often, we're conditioned to believe that if we take offense, we're the ones who are too sensitive or can't take a joke. But the truth is, constant criticism, no matter how it's packaged, chips away at your self-esteem over time. In my own life, I recall a period when I had a friend who constantly made jokes about my appearance and my work. At first, I laughed along, not wanting to make a big deal out of it. But as the months went on, I realized that her humor was always directed at my perceived shortcomings. Whether it was my choice of clothes or the way I expressed myself, she never missed an opportunity to make a snide remark disguised as humor. It took me a while to understand that this wasn't harmless fun. Instead, it was a way for her to feel better about herself at my expense. Recognizing this type of behavior is the first step in protecting yourself from its negative impact. Once you identify that someone's jokes are more about tearing you down than lifting you up, It's important to set boundaries. It's perfectly acceptable to let someone know that their humor is hurtful and not appreciated. Standing up for yourself in these situations can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary to protect your self-respect. Moreover, it helps shift the dynamic in the relationship, as the person making these jokes is forced to confront their own behavior. By refusing to be the target of their disguised criticisms, you reclaim your power. Another sign that someone may dislike you but is hiding it can come in the form of backhanded compliments. We've all experienced this phenomenon. Someone gives you a compliment, but instead of feeling uplifted, you're left feeling uncomfortable, as though something isn't quite right. These so-called compliments often have a sting to them, a hidden insult buried within the praise. They might say something like, "You did a great job for someone with your experience," or "You look nice today, much better than usual." On the surface, these remarks seem positive, but there's an underlying message that's far from complimentary. Backhanded compliments are often used as a way for the other person to assert their superiority subtly. They want to appear kind and supportive while, in reality, they are reinforcing the idea that you're somehow less than them. These compliments are designed to make you question your worth and abilities, leaving you second-guessing yourself. The person giving them may be insecure and feel threatened by your achievements, so they downplay your successes while trying to appear polite. In one instance, I was working on a project I was incredibly proud of. After months of hard work, I finally shared it with a group of colleagues. One of them, who I thought was a supporter, said, "This is actually really good for someone like you." At that moment, I was taken aback. On the surface, it seemed like a compliment, but the phrase, "for someone like you," felt like a slap in the face. It was as if they didn't expect me to be capable of producing good work. And their words made me feel as though my success was an exception rather than the norm. It's important to recognize backhanded compliments for what they are, a form of manipulation meant to keep you in your place. When someone gives you a compliment that leaves you questioning its sincerity, it's often because they're trying to undermine you subtly. In these situations, it's essential to trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't be afraid to call them out or ask for clarification. You might say something like, "Thank you, but what exactly do you mean by that?" This forces them to confront the hidden insult within their words and often makes them rethink their approach. In addition to these subtle forms of negativity, another sign that someone may not truly value you is when they exclude you from plans. Social exclusion can be one of the most painful experiences, especially when it comes from people you consider friends. We've all had that sinking feeling when we realize that we weren't invited to a dinner, a party, or a weekend getaway. Often, the people involved will brush it off as an oversight or claim that it was a last-minute decision. But the truth is, if they valued your presence, they would have made an effort to include you. I remember one weekend scrolling through social media and seeing pictures of a group of friends at an event I would have loved to attend. No one had mentioned it to me beforehand, and when I brought it up later, they were full of excuses. They said things like, "Oh, we thought you were busy," or "It was such a last-minute plan. We didn't have time to invite everyone." Deep down, I knew the truth. If they had wanted me there, they would have made sure I was included. This kind of exclusion is rarely accidental. It's a subtle way of pushing you out of the group without having to confront you directly. Being excluded from social plans is not just hurtful. It's also a clear message about how much or how little you matter to the people involved. When you consistently find yourself left out of group activities, it's a sign that you're not as valued as you may have thought. It can be difficult to accept, But recognizing this pattern is important for your emotional well-being. You deserve to be surrounded by people who actively want you in their lives, who make an effort to include you, no matter how last minute the plan might be. Addressing this issue head-on can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary to protect your self-worth. When I realized I was being excluded from plans, I decided to confront the situation directly. I asked my friends why I wasn't invited and expressed how their actions made me feel. While it was an awkward conversation, it forced them to recognize the impact of their behavior. Some people were defensive, while others tried to make up for it. But the bottom line was clear. I wasn't going to allow myself to be treated as an afterthought. Another sign that someone may dislike you is their tendency to avoid physical contact. While this may seem minor, physical contact is a fundamental way humans connect and build trust. When someone goes out of their way to avoid even casual touch, it can be a sign that they are uncomfortable around you. This could manifest in small ways, such as them pulling back when you reach out for a handshake or stiffening up when you sit next to them. In one particular instance, I noticed that a colleague seemed to avoid physical contact with me while being perfectly comfortable around others. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but over time it became clear that this wasn't a coincidence. Every time I reached out for a handshake or a friendly pat on the back, they would recoil or move away. Their body language was speaking volumes, even if their words didn't. Avoiding physical contact can be a sign that the person is distancing themselves from you, both literally and figuratively. While some people are naturally less tactile than others, it's important to note when this behavior seems selective. If someone is comfortable being close to others but consistently avoids contact with you, it's a red flag that something is off in the relationship. The way we perceive physical closeness often plays a crucial role in how we understand relationships. Physical contact, or the avoidance of it, can speak volumes about how someone feels towards you. While a lack of physical touch might seem insignificant, it often signals a deeper issue. When someone actively avoids physical contact with you while being perfectly comfortable around others, it is a clear indication that there's an underlying discomfort. This discomfort may not always be overtly hostile, but it reflects a lack of connection that can't be ignored. We humans are wired to respond to physical gestures. A handshake, a pat on the back, or a hug can communicate warmth, trust, and support. But when someone flinches or withdraws from even the smallest physical interaction, it's a sign that they are distancing themselves emotionally as well. Perhaps they feel awkward around you, or maybe they have unresolved issues that make them hesitant to engage. Regardless of the reason, it's a clear signal that something is amiss in the relationship. I remember a time when I noticed that a colleague would always avoid physical contact with me, though they had no problem hugging or shaking hands with others in the office. At first, I brushed it off, thinking maybe it was just a personality trait. But over time, it became clear that this avoidance was selective, and it made me question whether there was something deeper behind their behavior. I later found out that they had harbored negative feelings towards me for quite some time. But instead of confronting the issue, they distanced themselves physically as a way of coping with their discomfort. When you notice someone consistently avoiding physical contact with you, it's important not to dismiss it as mere coincidence. While it may be uncomfortable to address, acknowledging the signs and seeking clarity can help you understand the nature of your relationship with that person. If someone is keeping you at arm's length, both literally and figuratively, there's likely a reason for it. Beyond physical avoidance, Another telling sign of hidden dislike is the disappearance of someone when you need support the most. A crisis can often reveal the true colors of those around you. When life gets tough, the people who genuinely care about you will show up, even if it's inconvenient or uncomfortable for them. On the other hand, those who are only interested in being part of your life during the good times will often vanish when things take a turn for the worse. In my experience, one of the most difficult realizations I had to face was when people I considered close friends disappeared during one of the most challenging times of my life. I was going through a major personal crisis, and I needed support, whether it was a listening ear or simply someone to be there with me. Yet, the people I thought I could rely on were suddenly too busy or swamped with work. They had every excuse in the book, and while I initially believed them, it didn't take long for me to see the truth. These weren't friends who were invested in my well-being, they were fair-weather companions. Only around when life was easy. This experience taught me a valuable lesson. Support is not something that should be given out of convenience. True friends are there for you when it matters most, not just when it's fun or easy to do so. When someone disappears in your time of need, it's a clear sign that they don't value the relationship as much as you do. While this realization can be painful, it's also liberating because it helps you identify who truly belongs in your life and who doesn't. The most challenging part about facing this type of behavior is that it forces you to confront the fact that not everyone who smiles at you is genuinely in your corner. It's easy to surround yourself with people who enjoy your company when things are going well. But the real test of any relationship comes when life throws you a curveball. The people who stick around during those tough times are the ones who truly care. And they're the relationships worth investing in. Everyone else, let them go. Their absence during your darkest hours is a blessing in disguise because it frees you to focus on the people who truly matter. As difficult as it is to accept, another common sign that someone doesn't like you but is hiding it is their tendency to gossip behind your back. Gossip is a particularly insidious behavior because it often starts subtly, with small, seemingly harmless comments, but over time, it grows and spreads, damaging your reputation and eroding trust. When someone you consider a friend talks about you behind your back, it's a clear sign that they don't respect you, no matter how friendly they act to your face. I once confided in someone I thought was a close friend about a deeply personal issue. I needed to vent and trusted that this person would keep our conversation private. But within days, details of what I had shared started circulating. Twisted and exaggerated, it felt like a betrayal of the worst kind. And it left me questioning not only the friendship but my judgment in trusting them in the first place. The truth about gossip is that it's never as innocent as people make it out to be. When someone gossips about you, they're playing a power game by spreading information about you, especially private or sensitive details. They elevate themselves while diminishing you. Gossip is a way for them to feel in control, to manipulate how others perceive you, all without having to confront you directly. It's cowardly, and it's toxic. But here's something even more important to remember. People who gossip to you about others will almost certainly gossip about you to others as well. It's a pattern of behavior, not a one-time thing. So, when you find yourself in a situation where someone is consistently bad-mouthing others to you, take a moment to consider what they might be saying about you behind your back. Confronting someone about gossip is never easy, but it's necessary to protect yourself from further harm. When I confronted the person who had gossiped about me, I expected at least an apology or an explanation. Instead, they brushed it off as no big deal. as if the betrayal of trust was insignificant. That experience taught me a valuable lesson about the importance of setting boundaries and being selective about who I confide in. Not everyone deserves access to your personal life, and it's okay to protect yourself from those who can't be trusted. At the end of the day, relationships are built on trust, and once that trust is broken, it's difficult, if not impossible, to repair. If someone is willing to talk behind your back, they are showing you their true colors. Don't ignore the signs, and don't make excuses for their behavior. Gossip is a form of betrayal, and it's a clear indication that the relationship isn't as strong as you might have thought. In addition to gossip, another sign that someone dislikes you but is hiding it is their constant busyness when it comes to spending time with you. We've all been in situations where we've tried to make plans with someone, only to be met with excuse after excuse. They're always too busy, too swamped with work, or too overwhelmed to catch up. But when you see them making time for others, posting pictures of outings or get-togethers with mutual friends, it becomes clear that their busyness is selective. People make time for the things and people that matter to them. If someone is constantly too busy for you, it's not about their schedule, it's about their priorities. While it's easy to accept busy as a valid excuse, the truth is that if someone truly wanted to spend time with you, they would make the effort. Being too busy is often a polite way of saying, "I don't want to spend time with you," without having to deal with the discomfort of saying it outright. I've been on both sides of this situation. There were times when I made excuses because I didn't want to confront the fact that I had outgrown certain friendships. And there were times when I was on the receiving end, wondering why a friend who used to make time for me was suddenly always too busy. It took me a while to realize that busy was just an excuse. And the truth was that our relationship was no longer a priority for them. Confronting this truth can be difficult, but it's necessary for your own emotional well-being. When someone is consistently too busy for you, it's a clear sign that they don't value the relationship as much as you do. Rather than continuing to chase after their time and attention, it's better to focus your energy on people who are genuinely excited to spend time with you. Your time is precious, and so is your emotional energy. Don't waste it on someone who can't be bothered to make you a priority. Recognizing these signs, whether it's avoidance of physical contact, disappearing in times of need, gossip, or constant busyness, can be painful. But it's also empowering because it allows you to take control of your relationships. By identifying these behaviors, you can make informed decisions about who deserves a place in your life and who doesn't. Surround yourself with people who genuinely care, who lift you up, and who are there for you when it matters most. Everyone else, let them go. Your self-worth is too valuable to be compromised by people who don't see your value. 6. They disappear when you need support. In life, nothing reveals the true nature of a relationship more than a crisis. When things get tough, you quickly find out who your real friends are. So, what does it say about someone when they vanish the moment you need them the most? It's not just a sign of flakiness, it's a neon warning that they're not as invested in you as you might have thought. And let's face it, when someone pulls a disappearing act during your darkest hours, it's not just hurtful, it feels like a betrayal. I learned this the hard way during a particularly rough patch in my life. I was dealing with a major personal issue, something that shook me to my core. Naturally, I turned to the people I considered close friends, expecting some level of support, even if it was just a text or a quick call. But what I got instead were excuses. They were suddenly too busy with work or preoccupied with their own lives. I was met with, "I'll check in with you later," Or, "I'm just really swamped right now." But later never came. I waited, hoping for their support, but it never arrived. Here's the tough reality. People love to say they'll be there for you. But when push comes to shove, many of them are only around for the good times. They'll party with you, laugh with you, and celebrate your victories. But when life gets real, when you need someone to lean on, they disappear. It's easier for them to ghost you than to deal with your pain or discomfort. They don't want to be dragged into your problems because, deep down, they don't care enough to be there when it counts. This realization can be painful, but it's also freeing. It helps you sift through the relationships that truly matter and those that don't. True support isn't about convenience. It's about being there when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, and when it's the last thing someone wants to do. The people who disappear during your time of need aren't just being inconsiderate. They're showing you where you really stand in their lives. They're telling you, without words, that your problems aren't worth their time. In the aftermath of this realization, I had to reflect on my own relationships. I thought back to all the times I had been there for others through breakups, family issues, and career setbacks. But when it was my turn, when I needed someone to lean on, the silence was deafening. It was a wake-up call, and not a pleasant one. But it was also a lesson I needed to learn. Not everyone who smiles in your face is truly in your corner. Here's the deeper message. Support is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. It's easy to be around when everything is going well. But the true test of a relationship is how people respond when things fall apart. If someone disappears when you need them, they're not just failing you, they're showing you that they were never really there in the first place. But don't let their absence make you bitter. Let it make you better. Use it as a filter to separate those who truly care from those who don't deserve a place in your life. The people who check in, who show up even when it's inconvenient, those are the relationships you should nurture. In the end, life is too short to invest in fair-weather friends. Surround yourself with people who will stand by you in the storm, not just bask in the sunshine. When you find those rare individuals who stick around when the chips are down, you've found something worth holding on to. And as for those who disappear, let them go. They've already shown you their true colors. 7. They gossip about you behind your back. Gossip is like a social poison. It spreads quickly and can burn down relationships in an instant. The thing about gossip is that it's never as innocent as people make it out to be. When someone you consider a friend talks behind your back, they're not just sharing a harmless story. They're actively sabotaging your trust, your reputation, and your relationship. Let's be real. When someone gossips about you, it's a clear sign that they don't respect you, no matter how friendly they act to your face. I've experienced this firsthand, and it's one of the most gut-wrenching feelings. I remember a time when I confided in someone I thought was a close friend about a personal issue. I needed to vent, to unload some of the weight I was carrying, and I trusted this person to keep it between us. But within days, details of that conversation started circulating, twisted and exaggerated like a game of telephone. The betrayal hit hard. It wasn't just that my personal life had become gossip material. It was that someone I trusted had turned my vulnerability into entertainment for others. The person I thought I could confide in had used my trust against me. Here's the truth. People who gossip about you aren't just venting. They're playing a power game. Gossip is a way for them to elevate themselves while putting you down, all without having to confront you directly. It's manipulative, it's toxic, and it's cowardly. They're not just damaging your reputation. They're damaging the very foundation of trust that any real relationship is built on. And here's something important to keep in mind. People who gossip to you about others will almost certainly gossip about you to others. It's a pattern, not a one-time thing. I've seen it happen too many times to count. Someone who loves to spill the tea about everyone else suddenly goes quiet when they're around you. Guess what? They're probably spilling your tea when you're not around. Now, here's where it gets personal. I remember confronting the friend who had gossiped about me, expecting an apology or at least an explanation. Instead, they acted like it was no big deal, brushing it off as just a bit of harmless talk. But here's the thing, gossip is never harmless. It's a betrayal, plain and simple, and it says far more about the person spreading it than it does about the person it's about. If someone is willing to talk behind your back, they're showing you their true colors. Don't ignore the signs, and don't make excuses for their behavior. Gossip is a form of betrayal, and it's a clear indication that the relationship isn't as solid as you might have thought. So, what do you do when you find out someone is gossiping about you? Confrontation is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. When I confronted my friend, it forced them to acknowledge their behavior. It didn't fix the relationship, but it gave me the closure I needed. Gossip is a poison that erodes trust. And once that trust is broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. At the end of the day, relationships are built on trust. And if someone is willing to betray that trust through gossip, they're showing you that they don't deserve a place in your life. Surround yourself with people who speak well of you behind your back, not those who tear you down when you're not around. Life is too short to invest in people who don't value your trust. In the end, relationships are the cornerstone of our lives, shaping our experiences, influencing our emotions, and molding the paths we take. But not all relationships are built on mutual respect and honesty. Some people will smile at you while hiding their true feelings, leaving you to navigate the murky waters of disguised dislike. The signs may be subtle, jokes that cut too deep, backhanded compliments that undermine, exclusion from plans, or the cold shoulder in times of need, but they are there if you pay attention. Recognizing these behaviors isn't about becoming paranoid or distrusting everyone around you. It's about protecting your emotional well-being and surrounding yourself with people who genuinely care. Life is too short to waste on relationships that don't bring out the best in you. True friendships are built on trust, kindness, and mutual support, not on manipulation, gossip, or conditional affection. By learning to spot the signs of hidden dislike, you empower yourself to take control of your relationships. You no longer have to tolerate being treated poorly or second-guess your self-worth. Instead, you can choose to invest your time and energy in the people who truly value you, who uplift you, and who stand by you through thick and thin. The journey to understanding others begins with understanding yourself. And in that clarity, you find the strength to walk away from what no longer serves you. Remember, you deserve relationships that are authentic, supportive, and full of respect. Surround yourself with those who celebrate your presence, and let go of those who only pretend to care. The people who truly matter will always make you feel seen, heard, and valued, not just when it's convenient, but because they genuinely appreciate you for who you are.